Draw Right Now was a curriculum we picked up. When did we pick it up? I don't remember, but it's something that we've slowly used. And it's mostly been like supplemental learning whenever we go on field trips where I need to still do some schooling, or like extracurriculars where we have time in between, things like that. And that's how I use this curriculum. And so we're going to talk about how it worked for us and how it didn't in that way. All right, so before we get into it, in case you don't know what Draw Right Now looks like, I will show you it a little bit. First, I want to say here are some of the pages. They fell out as Vivi was handling it. And if you don't know what it looks like inside, I'll just show you a few pages here. Hopefully they will be visible with the very strong lighting. But basically the way it works is you get this already illustrated picture. There's text that they will do copy work with down here on the bottom. And then on the other side is kind of like a tutorial on how to simply draw whatever it is they're learning about. That's the way Draw Right Now works. We've just had this little composition book and she's just drawn in here. I'll show you. One moment. Here's one example. This is on a turkey she drew out of the book, and there's some of her writing for it. Another page, she did a sheep, okay? And there is her copy work she did about it. So it's very simple. It's not a like all-inclusive curriculum, and that's why we don't use it in that way. We use it as supplemental work and just more practice. And we use it, like I said, usually like in between our extracurriculars. If you don't know, when we do extracurriculars, I try to get them all in one day. And then any in between time where we have that downtime situation, that's when we homeschool on those kind of days. And as you can see, that is only the first book. I do have the second book as well. I had hopes to use it, and we won't be for any time soon, which I'll explain why, but I'll probably still do a flip through of that curriculum book as well for you guys on this channel since I have it. So, as you can hear, obviously it didn't work out exactly, and I am choosing to withdraw from using Draw Right Now for the time being. And we will get into the story of why that is, even though it is definitely something my daughter and I wanted. We wanted this curriculum to work out. It didn't. With buying this curriculum, I had obviously the vision of having some independent work that could be done. My daughter is very able to write alone. She is able to draw alone, all those things. So I wanted some work that we could do independent work with. Even though I was there working with her most of the time, between her and her sister, I just wanted her to have things that she felt like she could continue on with without me having to like be there the whole time to do it with her. And it did do that. It was very independent. It even got to, for a long time there, even up to when I decided to quit using it. She would take it into her bedroom at night without me even knowing when she first started this. She would do one of the pages. So she would go into the book and she would pick the next picture she had to do, the next bit of copy work she had to do, and she would put it into this notebook at night before she went to bed. And the next day she would present me with it. She would be like, "Here, Mom, I did it," along with Explode the Code or Beyond the Code, depending on which one we're working on at the time of this happening. And also she would read in her chapter books. You know, it's amazing. She's an awesome little girl, very, very able to do things independently. And clearly this gave her that confidence to continue working independently. So it was like a dream come true situation. My daughter was doing her work without me around, literally before bed, and handing it to me the next morning, which in return obviously cut some of her schooling time, which gave her more playtime because she had already done the work the night before. Granted, that's not all we do, but we did a lot of unschooling this year, and so we didn't go heavy on books. And so her doing this was, you know, that was a big deal. It was taking a bulk of the book work out of the way. Granted, it's not exactly book work. It's like fun work, to be honest. It is a fun little curriculum. And so with all that being said, I know it sounds wonderful, and it is. It is a wonderful little curriculum, and I'm holding hope that in the future we will be able to use it again. What didn't work out was as the book progressed and she felt it was getting a little harder to do, right? When she first started, we were looking at those simple pictures, right? We're just drawing this chicken here. Like I said, some of these pages are out of the book because handing a child a curriculum book to hold on to, they just got ripped out. So the chicken, and here was the directions on how to do it. You know, the step-by-step little way to illustrate the chicken. So they started out very simple. Did they get extra hard? No, they didn't. Not at least to an adult's brain. But to her, they did become more complicated. Like for instance, here is the 3 little pigs, okay? And I don't know how much you can see this. There we go, that's a better way to see it. You can see it became more complicated, right? So there's that. And then compared to that was this, I guess it was a hen, not a chicken, this right here. So you see that progression was quite different. So with that being said, she just got to a point of struggling. Now, do I think that it's an age appropriate struggling type issue or a skill appropriate issue? No, my daughter could honestly draw that if she tried. The problem was my daughter is a perfectionist, okay? So it got to the point where she felt like if she couldn't do it perfect, and even these other ones she struggled with, those early ones, she would feel like she didn't do a great job, and we would have to talk about how, like, you know, art doesn't have to be this perfect thing. The point is that you tried. And it just got to a point where she stopped doing it at night, which is fine, because she said, Mom, they're just too hard to do alone. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to do it alone. You know, like, I can be there with you. And I had to make it clear, because she, at a certain point, she started asking me to draw the photos for her. And I was explaining to her, like, that's not the point here. The point here is for you to do it, not me. And so, yes, I was willing to be there to help her. I was willing to kind of make her aware of some of those spatial awareness things that go on in art, and kind of guide her. But even with me guiding her, she got to a point where she was trying to erase every line, to the point that the pages were, let me see if I can find an example. Okay, so as you can see over here, there are a lot of circles that she erased because she kept getting frustrated that it wasn't perfect. I don't know if you can see it on this swan too, but if you look, there are a lot of erasing marks where she gave up. So those are just some of the examples of where she would do that throughout this curriculum book. And so when I began to try to help her, since she wasn't alone, it's like she was expecting me to do the work for her. And of course, I wasn't going to do the work. I was more than willing to guide her through it. However, I noticed that her attitude would change. Vivi's a pretty happy child. She's very sweet. And she began to kind of have this sour face all the time. And it became so difficult to even get through a homeschool lesson without us feeling like we needed to pull our hair out, both of us. And also, I gave her multiple warnings. I was like, this isn't working out. I think it's time to pull this curriculum. And she would get upset, and she would say, no, I really want to do this curriculum. I like it. And I was trying to explain to her, you know, I understand if she likes it, but it's seeming like she's truly not enjoying it. It's making her miserable. I tried to explain that this isn't a behavioral issue thing. I'm not withdrawing it for bad behavior or anything like that. It's just, you look miserable. It's causing homeschool to be miserable. I think it's time to pull the plug on this curriculum. And she fought me so hard on that. And that's why we've continued for this long. I kept trying and trying to do it. And I kept explaining that it doesn't have to be perfect. I kept explaining I'm not doing the work for you, but I'm more than happy to be here to help you and walk you through it and just make you aware of some things, that it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. But she wouldn't hear me out on that. And so finally it did get to one point where we were at our extracurricular location. We had an hour in between classes, and I had this there for her to do, and she wanted to do it. And this one was so complicated to her that she had done, I don't even remember which one it was, that she just had, her attitude completely changed. Everything changed. And it got to the point that that attitude was rubbing off on me. It was rubbing off on her sister. Next thing I know, I have 2 very grumpy kids on my hands in the middle of this building, which can be highly stressful, obviously. And my attitude became horrible, and I was done with it. She was almost looking at her sister with jealousy because her sister didn't have to do this curriculum. You know, her sister's 4. So that's all I'll say about it. I usually don't, put that kind of stuff out on the internet about my kids, but I wanted to explain why we had to quit this curriculum. And I don't even know if you'd call it curriculum. Maybe it is curriculum. I guess a lot of things can fit that term. But that is why we had to stop it. I officially at that moment when we were at our extracurricular location, I was like, you know what, we're done. We are done with this. And once again, I just had to reassure her it was not a behavior thing. She felt like it was her fault that we were stopping. And I was like, no, it's not. This is just, it's not working. And if it's not working, it's got to go. So that is the story of why we are where we are now with not using draw right now. Is it a curriculum I would recommend? Yes, it is. I would recommend it. I liked it. Vivi clearly liked it. She didn't want to give it up. But it's just, depending on your child's temperament, that's where you'll find if it's right for you or not. So if you have a child who is a perfectionist or doesn't like getting, or feels pressure to get things done properly, this curriculum you might want to hold off on depending on their age and skill level. I plan to revisit it in the future and hopefully use it again because it really is a fun little way to slide in some learning and independent work, obviously. So yes, I do recommend it, but just be cautious if your child is not enjoying it. Go ahead and pull it. It's not an expensive book. Does it have the price on it? There's no price on it, but oh, there it is, $14.99. I don't even think I paid $14.99 to be honest. It's not like you're losing a lot of money. So if you want to try it, try it. We did enjoy it until towards the end as it just got rougher and rougher to use. Hopefully your kids can enjoy it more than mine did. Have you used Draw right now and what was your experience with it? I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any experience with it. If you're wanting to check out some other videos of mine, click right on over here. I'll see you there over in those videos. Have fun homeschooling.